Chosen one, they tried to stop you, but God has cleared the way for your victory. The blocks, the setbacks, and the resistance, they all failed. No matter how hard they tried to hold you back, God has fought for you, and now the path is open. You faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable, but none of it could thwart the divine plan God has for you. The very ones who sought to block your progress are now seeing that their efforts were in vain. The truth is undeniable. God's purpose for you cannot be stopped. Are you ready to step into the next chapter of your journey? You've been through a lot, chosen one. The road has not been easy, and you've encountered resistance at every turn. There were those who sought to stop you, who tried to throw up barriers in your way, who wanted to see you fail. But here's the truth. None of that could stop God's plan for you. Your journey was never about the obstacles in your path. It was about your ability to trust in God's ability to remove them. And now, that's exactly what He's done. The obstacles that once blocked you are gone, and your path is clear. It's easy to look back and wonder why these things happened, why you were held back, or why the challenges were so intense. But as you'll discover in this video, everything you face had a purpose. The blocks were never meant to stop you. They were meant to refine you, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare you for what's coming next. The victory you've won is not just in overcoming the resistance. It's in seeing how God fought for you. In this video, you'll learn why you were blocked and who was behind it. We'll dive deep into how God fought for you, removing the obstacles that stood in your way. And we'll explore what this breakthrough means for you and your spiritual journey. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how this victory will propel you forward into your next chapter of divine purpose. If you've ever felt blocked or held back, comment 77 to affirm your readiness to rise. And let's dive into why the blocks were put in place in the first place. The blocks you faced. There are moments in every chosen one's journey when it feels like the entire world is working against you. You've probably been there, standing in the face of overwhelming opposition, watching doors slam shut in front of you, seeing opportunities slip through your fingers despite all your best efforts, and wondering why things aren't unfolding as you had hoped. The pain of feeling stuck, unable to make progress, can be deep. Perhaps you felt the sting of others' disapproval, witnessed failure after failure, or sensed the presence of invisible forces that seem determined to keep you from your true calling. These are the blocks. These are the forces, seen and unseen, that stand in your way, halting your movement and making it feel like every step forward is met with 2 steps back. But the question remains, why are they there? Why do you face such intense resistance? And what purpose do these blocks serve in your spiritual journey? Why does it seem that everything you try to do is met with failure or opposition? It's easy to feel discouraged when you're faced with such relentless challenges. You may question your worth or wonder if you've somehow failed in some way. But I want you to understand this. These blocks are not there to punish you or to keep you from your destiny. In fact, they are a necessary part of the divine process that God is using to shape and refine you into the person you were always meant to be. First, you must understand that these blocks are not always personal. They may feel like attacks on your very existence, but often they are part of a greater spiritual battle. There are forces at work, spiritual forces, that seek to prevent you from realizing the fullness of your divine purpose. The enemy knows the potential that lies within you, and he will do everything in his power to distract, dishearten, and deter you from the path God has set before you. These spiritual blocks, these obstacles that seem so difficult to overcome, are the enemy's attempt to keep you from stepping into your power. Consider the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest missionaries and spiritual leaders in history. His life was marked by one obstacle after another. He was thrown into prison multiple times, shipwrecked, beaten, and betrayed. Every time he tried to spread the gospel, it seemed that something or someone would rise up against him. At times, it must have felt as though his mission was hopeless. Yet, despite the blocks that stood in his way, Paul never wavered. Each setback, each moment of hardship was not a sign of failure, but a step toward the fulfillment of his divine mission. The very blocks that seemed to imprison him became the places of his greatest breakthroughs. While in prison, Paul wrote letters to the churches that would go on to inspire millions for centuries. Those letters, born out of suffering and adversity, in Christian history. In the same way, you, chosen one, are facing blocks that seem impossible to overcome. You may feel imprisoned by your circumstances, as though the walls are closing in and the odds are stacked against you. But what you need to understand is this: these blocks were never meant to stop you. They were meant to prepare you. Every setback, every moment when you felt like you were at your breaking point, was part of a divine process designed to build you up. You are being refined by the very challenges that seem to hold you back. Just as gold is purified by fire, your faith is being purified by the trials you face. The blocks you encounter are not the end of the road. They are the stepping stones leading you to your divine purpose. You may not see it now, but every challenge you face is shaping you into the person God has called you to be. Your character, your strength, your resilience. These are being forged in the furnace of adversity. Take a moment to reflect on the blocks you faced in your own life. Think of the obstacles that have made you doubt yourself, the circumstances that have made you feel stuck, the moments when you thought you couldn't go on. Can you see how they've shaped you? Can you see how each challenge, each block, has pushed you to grow, to stretch beyond your limits, and to trust more deeply in God's plan for your life? These blocks, these setbacks, are not random. They are part of the divine design that is unfolding in your life. You are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. Every time you felt like you couldn't go on, God was working behind the scenes to build your strength. Every time you felt like the odds were against you, God was using those moments to teach you the power of perseverance and faith. These blocks are the very things that are leading you toward your breakthrough. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it might seem like the sculptor is destroying the stone, but in reality, he is revealing the masterpiece hidden inside. Each chip, each strike of the chisel, brings the sculpture closer to its final form. In the same way, each block you face is part of God's process of revealing the masterpiece that is you. You are being shaped, refined, and prepared for the divine destiny that awaits you. As you face these blocks, it's important to remember that you are not alone. You may feel like you're fighting a battle by yourself, but God is with you every step of the way. You might not be able to see the full picture right now, but I promise you, chosen one, these blocks are not the end of your story. They are the preparation for something greater, something that will make all of the struggles and setbacks worth it. You are being shaped into the person you were always meant to be, and the victory that lies ahead is worth the fight. Common barriers. If you understand that these blocks were never meant to keep you down, but to teach you, refine you, and prepare you for the journey ahead. Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll explore how God fought for you and remove those obstacles. You are not alone in this journey. God is moving powerfully on your behalf, and your breakthrough is coming. Have you ever felt like you don't quite fit in? Like the road you've traveled has been far more difficult than others around you? Maybe you've questioned why your journey has been marked by struggles that seem too personal, too painful, or too isolating. If so, you're not alone. That feeling of being set apart isn't a mistake. It's a calling. God has placed something within you that requires a different kind of preparation, a different kind of refinement. You weren't meant to follow the same path as everyone else, because He has called you to lead. And leadership in God's kingdom doesn't look like the world's version of power. It looks like obedience, perseverance, and an unshakable faith that has been tested in fire. You've likely faced challenges that seemed relentless, moments where you felt completely alone, and seasons where everything you thought was certain crumbled before your eyes. These weren't random obstacles. They were intentional training grounds. When God chooses someone to lead, He doesn't give them an easy road. Look at your past. There were times you were misunderstood, rejected, or forced to walk away from things you thought you needed. That wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The betrayals, the losses, the lonely nights. They stripped away everything that wasn't aligned with your calling. And while others may have been able to take shortcuts, you couldn't, because what God is building in you requires depth, endurance, and wisdom that only comes from walking through the fire. Consider the words of the prophet Zechariah, who spoke of God refining his chosen ones. Asterisk, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people. And they shall say, the Lord is my God. Asterisk, Zechariah 13 verse 9. Gold isn't refined in comfort. It's purified through intense heat. In the same way, your trials were not meant to break you, but to purify you, to remove anything that would hinder your ability to lead with integrity, humility, and strength. Just like God chose the remnant of Israel, he has set you apart for something greater. He saw in you what others overlooked. While the world measures greatness by status, credentials, and outward success, God looks at the heart, and he has seen your heart, your resilience, your faithfulness, your willingness to keep going even when everything around you said to quit. Now, you may have already started seeing the signs of this transformation. Doors that once remained shut are beginning to open. The very things that once broke you no longer have power over you. You're noticing shifts in your relationships. Some people are drifting away, while others who align with your purpose are being drawn into your life. There is a newfound clarity, a deeper peace, an unshakable confidence growing inside of you. That's because God is bringing you into alignment with the calling he placed on your life. He is preparing you to step fully into your role as a leader, one who leads not by force, but by example, by faith, and by a spirit surrendered to him. Every moment of struggle was not for nothing. The trials that once seemed cruel were, in fact, evidence of God's hand shaping you into someone who can carry the weight of divine responsibility. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to rise. So, if you've ever doubted your worth, your purpose, or whether God truly has a plan for you, let this be your confirmation. He has chosen you, not because you were the most qualified, not because you had the perfect resume, but because you were willing, because when others quit, you pressed on, because even in your weakness, you never let go of him. And that kind of heart, that kind of faith, is exactly what he needs in a leader. The world may not understand why God chose you, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that he did. And now, he is calling you to step forward, to embrace this purpose, and to walk boldly in the leadership he has ordained for you. Comment "I'm chosen" if this resonates with your spirit, and don't go anywhere, because next, we'll explore what it truly means to rule with divine purpose. We've explored the blocks you faced, and why God fought for you to remove them. But what about the breakthrough itself? How do you recognize the changes that God has made in your life? There's so much more to this victory, and I don't want you to miss out on the deeper layers of what God is doing in your life. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, share this video with someone who needs encouragement, and click the super thanks button to support. We're diving deeper, and I promise you won't want to miss what's coming next. Recognizing your spiritual breakthrough. Now that the blocks have been removed and you've emerged from the trial, it's time to pause and recognize the spiritual breakthrough that has already occurred in your life. This breakthrough, however, may not always be immediately obvious. After facing trial after trial, it's natural to feel a sense of exhaustion and confusion, wondering where the breakthrough really lies. You might even feel like the residue of the battle is still lingering. The heaviness of the fight, the scars of what you've endured. You've pushed through, but it's hard to see the victory clearly in the midst of the aftermath. But here's the truth. Your breakthrough has already happened. It may not look like what you expected, but it's here and it's real. Think about the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible. For 12 long years, she suffered with an affliction that no one could cure. She tried everything, the doctors, the treatments, the hopes for healing. But each attempt left her feeling more rejected, isolated, and desperate. Her body was broken, but so too was her spirit. She had been battling not only the illness, but the emotional toll of being alienated, of feeling unseen, unworthy, and abandoned. And yet, When she reached out in faith and touched the hem of Jesus' garment, her healing came instantly. In that moment, her entire reality shifted. She had been battling for so long, and yet, with one touch, everything changed. The physical healing was immediate, yes, but her breakthrough went far deeper. It was not just about physical healing. It was a profound spiritual, emotional, and mental transformation. Her breakthrough wasn't just about overcoming an illness. It was about overcoming the barriers of fear, shame, and isolation that had kept her from truly living. In that moment, she moved from despair to hope, from rejection to acceptance, from sickness to wholeness. Her touch wasn't just physical. It was a declaration of faith, a recognition that no matter how impossible her situation seemed, God's power was greater. The instant her faith connected with the divine, everything changed. In the same way, chosen one, your breakthrough is multidimensional. It's not just about overcoming the immediate obstacles in front of you. The breakthrough is not limited to just the tangible things, your job, your relationships, or your finances. It's about the deep internal transformation that is taking place within you. Your breakthrough is happening not just in the physical realm, but in the way you see the world, the way you perceive your relationship with God, and the way you now understand your purpose. God has been working within you, preparing you for something far greater than you initially realized. You may not have fully seen it, but your perspective is changing. Your faith is deepening, and your spiritual vision is becoming clearer than it ever was before. It's easy to look at a breakthrough as a single event or a change in circumstances, but in truth, a spiritual breakthrough is often a process. The removal of the obstacles you once faced was just the beginning. What happens next is even more profound, because it's not just about getting rid of what was blocking you. It's about becoming the person you were meant to be, fully aligned with the divine purpose for your life. It's about stepping into a new reality where the struggles of the past no longer have the same power over you. And it's about recognizing that you've been transformed in the process, made stronger, wiser, and more attuned to God's will. Your breakthrough is not a simple moment in time. It's a series of interconnected changes happening within you. It's the way you see yourself now, not as a victim of your circumstances, but as someone who has overcome them. You are no longer defined by your struggles, your fears, or the failures of your past. You are defined by your faith, your resilience, and your ability to rise above every challenge. The very trials that once seemed insurmountable are now the foundation of your strength, your wisdom, and your clarity. You may still carry the scars of the battle, but those scars are not signs of weakness. They are the markers of victory. Every scar tells the story of how you rose above the challenges. Every challenge you face has been part of a divine process that has shaped you into someone who is now ready for the next chapter of your life. And in this new chapter, you will see the world differently. You will see your relationship with God in a new light, deeper, stronger, and more intimate. You will see your purpose with clarity, knowing that you were called for this moment, for this victory, for the mission that lies ahead. The breakthrough is about empowerment. You have come through the fire, and now you are like gold refined. You've been purified by the trials you faced, and you are stronger for it. You may not have fully realized it yet, but your spiritual capacity has expanded. Your ability to trust God has deepened. You now know that nothing can hold you back from fulfilling your purpose. You know that with God on your side, there is no obstacle that can stand in your way. The true breakthrough isn't just about external circumstances shifting. It's about how you've changed internally. Your mindset has shifted from one of limitation to one of possibility. You no longer see yourself as someone who is blocked, stuck, or defeated. You are now someone who is empowered, someone who has already overcome the obstacles. And because of that transformation, you are now in a position to rise, to lead, and to step into the full manifestation of your divine purpose. Comment awakened if you are beginning to see the breakthrough in your own life. Recognize that the change isn't just in your circumstances, it's in you. This is your time to embrace the new you, the person you become through this process, and to move forward with confidence and boldness. In the next section, We'll explore how to use this breakthrough to fuel your journey. You've made it this far, but the best is yet to come. This breakthrough is just the beginning of something even more incredible. And now, you are equipped to step forward with greater clarity, purpose, and strength than ever before. Your journey is unfolding, and the road ahead is bright. Stay tuned, because there is so much more waiting for you. Moving forward after the victory. Now that you recognize your breakthrough, it's time to consider the most crucial part of your journey, moving forward. You faced obstacles, endured hardships, and overcome significant challenges. But the victory you've just experienced is not the finish line. It's simply the beginning of a new chapter. While it's important to acknowledge and celebrate the progress you've made, it's even more important to understand that this breakthrough is not an endpoint. It's the fuel for the next phase of your journey. The real test now is how you will use this victory to propel yourself forward into the next season of your life. There's often a temptation to sit back and bask in the moment of triumph, to rest and enjoy the relief of having finally overcome the barriers that once seemed insurmountable. And while it's natural to want to pause and reflect, to take a moment of gratitude for the victory, the truth is that the victory itself is merely a stepping stone. It's an opportunity to propel yourself forward, to step into the future with new confidence and clarity. Think about the Israelites when they crossed the Red Sea. After experiencing God's miraculous intervention, after witnessing the waters part and making it safely to the other side, it would have been understandable if they had decided to just stop there, to rest and enjoy the safety of their new place. But that was not God's plan for them. The Israelites didn't stop at the Red Sea. They were led by God into the wilderness. The wilderness was not an easy place. It was barren, filled with unknowns, and filled with further tests. But it was also part of the divine process. The wilderness was a place where they would learn to fully depend on God, where they would encounter their inner strength, and where they would prepare for the promised land. The wilderness was necessary for their growth, for their development, and for the eventual realization of the purpose God had set before them. In the same way, chosen one, your breakthrough has led you into a new season, a season that may not always be easy, but one that is filled with purpose and opportunity. The path ahead might not always be clear. There will be challenges, there will be moments of uncertainty, and there may even be times when it feels like you're back in the wilderness, fighting for your faith. But know this: the victory you have just experienced has equipped you for the journey ahead. You have been strengthened, refined, and prepared for what's coming next. God didn't bring you this far just to let you rest. He has more for you to do. The obstacles that once seemed so daunting are now behind you, and the path ahead is yours to walk with purpose. You may still face new challenges, but you will face them differently now. You have learned from the past struggles, and you have been equipped with a new perspective, a deeper faith, and a greater trust in God's plan for you. No longer will you be held back by fear or doubt. You've seen God move powerfully in your life, and you know that He will continue to fight for you as you move forward. Comment forward if you are ready to move boldly into the next chapter of your life. The time is now. You've made it this far, chosen one, but what comes next is where the true transformation begins. What happens when you trust God's plan fully and completely? Stay tuned, because the final section will reveal the incredible rewards of walking in the fullness of God's purpose. Trusting God fully is not simply about believing in Him in theory or admiring His power from afar. It is about taking a profound, sometimes difficult step into the unknown, releasing all control, and choosing to walk forward with confidence, even when the full picture is still unseen. It's about surrendering every part of your life, the good, the bad, and the uncertain, and allowing God to guide every single step. This level of trust doesn't come overnight. It's cultivated over time, through trials and victories, and through moments when you felt lost, but continue to believe that there was a greater plan unfolding. For many, trusting God fully can be one of the hardest challenges they face. There are times when you may feel like you're walking blindfolded, not knowing what's next. The road ahead may appear dark or unclear, and the temptation is to want to take control, to make plans, to dictate your own path. Yet, true trust in God means surrendering that need for control and allowing God's plan to take the lead. It's an act of faith that requires releasing your personal understanding of how things should unfold and accepting that His wisdom surpasses anything you could possibly comprehend. Think of Abraham, a man whose faith and trust in God set an example for generations. When God asked him to sacrifice his son Isaac, the very child Abraham had prayed for, it must have seemed impossible. The future he had dreamed of with his son, the legacy he envisioned, was suddenly threatened by God's command. But Abraham didn't hesitate. He trusted God completely, even when the purpose behind the test was unclear. He believed that even in the most confusing moments, God's plan was still perfect. As he was about to sacrifice Isaac, God intervened, providing a ram in place of his son. Abraham's act of trust didn't just fulfill a command. It was a demonstration of total surrender to God's greater plan, a plan that Abraham could not fully see in that moment. But through his obedience and faith, God's purpose was revealed in a way that was beyond Abraham's imagination. Your journey, chosen one, is very much like Abraham's. The difference is that you now stand at a place of greater understanding and maturity. You've already walked through your own trials, and perhaps you've experienced moments when it seemed like everything was falling apart. Maybe you've asked why things haven't unfolded according to your timing or your understanding. These moments are not signs of God's absence. They are invitations to trust Him more deeply. It's when you don't have all the answers, when the path forward is uncertain, that your trust becomes the greatest tool in your journey. Trusting God's plan is not just about surviving the trials you face. It's about thriving through them. It's about taking each step with the confidence that God is working all things together for your good, even when you can't see the results immediately. You may feel as though the pieces of your life aren't fitting together, but God sees the bigger picture. He knows how everything you're experiencing is preparing you for what's to come. Each challenge is not a roadblock, but a stepping stone to greater understanding and deeper growth. It's like a puzzle where the pieces don't make sense at first, but as you step back and trust the process, the full picture begins to come into view. One of the most powerful biblical stories about trusting God's plan comes from the life of Joseph. Sold into slavery by his brothers, betrayed, and wrongfully imprisoned, Joseph's life was filled with seeming defeats. Yet, through every twist and turn, Joseph maintained his trust in God's sovereignty. In Genesis 50, verse 20, Joseph reflects on his trials, saying, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Joseph's life is a testament to the idea that even when the world is against you, God can use every situation for His divine purpose. The obstacles and hardships Joseph faced were not in vain. They were part of the grand plan that God had been orchestrating all along. For you, chosen one, there will be times when it seems like things are falling apart, when life doesn't make sense, when the road ahead is unclear. But it is in these moments of uncertainty that your trust in God can shine the brightest. Trusting God fully means stepping into those moments without fear, knowing that God is with you and that His plan is far greater than anything you could orchestrate on your own. When you trust God with your past, your present, and your future, you open yourself up to experiencing His presence in ways you never could have imagined. You, chosen one, have been called to walk in confidence, to step boldly into the future God has prepared for you. When you trust God fully, you allow Him to take control of every aspect of your life, your dreams, your ambitions, your heartaches, and your hopes for the future. When you surrender everything to Him, you will begin to see the full manifestation of His purpose for your life. You will experience the peace that comes from knowing that God's plan is perfect, even when you can't see all the details. Comment, faith, if you're ready to walk in the full confidence of God's plan for you. Trusting in Him fully is a step into the divine destiny you were always meant to fulfill. Stay steadfast in your faith, because the victory you've experienced so far is just the beginning of something far greater than you can imagine. Chosen one, God has fought for you. The blocks are gone and your path is clear. It's time to rise, to walk boldly into your next season, and to embrace the greatness He has in store for you. Subscribe, share, and comment Amen to affirm your trust in God's plan. Your victory is just beginning,